Okay, it is 11:01 Central, so since this is workforce management, we probably should get this started now. Hopefully everybody can see my screen right now, just a little splash screen on there, but we will go ahead and get started again. My name is John Watkinson, and we're going to talk about workforce management and specific to Interaction Optimizer. So what are we going to talk about today? Forecasting and scheduling, obviously a big piece of workforce management. We're going to talk about real-time adherence and monitoring, schedule modifications, time off planning, schedule bidding, and also agent preferences. So depending on your contact center setup and how you want to deliver schedules, we have some options there for you. Shift trading, and really the basic portion, and really what the message I want to communicate today is how we're going to make your life so much easier. So there is a questions pod, I guess I should mention that. If you guys have questions, throw the questions into the question pod and I will answer them. I'll try to answer them as I go through, but if not, I'll definitely get to them at the end of the webinar. Who is John Watkinson? What a pretty picture. You know, that's like the 14th different picture I put up there because that was like the hardest part of this presentation. I've been in the industry for about 20 years, specializing in workforce management and just contact center operations, even outside of WFM. But and again, a message you're going to hear through this whole presentation is why do we do what we do? You know, why do we use workforce management? Not just how it works, but how it's going to benefit your contact center. I've been with Interaction Optimizer since its birth in 2006, so I know quite a bit about it. I do a lot of consulting around WFM, WFO, best practices, do health checks or assessments in contact centers, just come in and get a temperature, see how things are going, show where some areas of improvements can be, and give options. You know, that's really what we're all about. You know your contact center better than any of us, but we're here to kind of listen to what your needs are and also share with you some of our best practices that we've had in my 20 years in this industry of things that have worked for contact centers, but to provide you options, right? To let you pick what works best for you. I came from Interactive Intelligence. I was there for 10 years. And I've been with Avtex for 11 months. And the beautiful part is they let me come back each day. So I must be doing something right. Here is just the main menu of Interaction Optimizer. Again, as we'll talk about, this is fully baked into your Pure Connect platform. I'm in what's called IC Business Manager. You'll see tabs in one moment here. I have this handy dandy little laser pointer that I'm going to use and will probably drive everybody crazy by the end of the webinar. But you'll see over here I have all these different locations I can go to, from quality, from reporting, any other application that you may have access to, but it's all in one place. And again, if you have a different system, a standalone system, you're toggling between two systems quite a bit. This is right here, all in one, right? We'll say that over and over, but it truly is a beautiful thing in the workforce management industry because you don't have to maintain two systems. Again, I'm not going to go through every single component that we have for Optimizer, but we are going to hit on the big rocks today, you know, the big nuggets, if you will. We have that configuration pod. This is, like I say, it's kind of one and done. We go in, we set it up, and we don't usually have to go back in there unless we have to make changes to someone's shift or our service goals change. So again, how does workforce management work? You know, we take your historic volume, calls, chats, emails, faxes, whatever that historic volume is, we take the handle time, and you tell us what you want to schedule to. Is it an average speed of answer? Is it a service goal of 80% of our calls in 20 seconds or less? And maybe our emails are an average speed of answer of 4 hours or 12 hours or 24 hours. And we'll schedule that and tell you how many FTE or headcount you need each interval in order to make that service goal. So again, this is where we set a lot of that up. We'll obviously talk about some forecasting and scheduling. That's a big piece of this, different ways we can do that. We have long-term forecasting. So it's a piece of capacity planning where we can forecast out into the future what our headcount might be needed, say for 6 months from today or a year from today. Schedule bidding is one of our features. We talked a little bit about that. We'll also have preferences, or what I like to call you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. Here's your schedule, you work it, have a great day. We have shift trading, where we'll talk a little bit about that, where agents can post trades. So for example, if I work at 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Bob works from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., I may want to work his 5 to 6 p.m. if He works my 8 to 9 a.m. because I have a medical appointment at 8 a.m. and I don't want to take vacation time. You'll be able to set rules around that. For example, have to have the same call types. I don't want someone who takes Mandarin emails switching with someone who does English calls. Doesn't make a lot of sense. We'll spend some time on intraday management and adherence management, and then our time off planner. Again, that all-in-one is a beautiful thing. We can set up limits for time off planning to where you can say this group can have 3 people off a day or maybe more off on Thursday or Friday. We'll set that up. We'll talk about that in more detail. So again, just toggling through here, bear with me. So we're gonna jump right into the forecasting. And if I didn't mention yet, don't forget to ask questions. I'm looking in the question pod and I don't see any yet. So don't be shy to ask questions. From a forecasting standpoint, we can filter. So you'll see these red boxes over on the left. This is indicating by day of week, by work group, by interaction type, or by skill set. So again, this is my volume that's coming in. If I want to make, let me take a step back, I apologize. From a forecasting standpoint, as I mentioned earlier, we're bringing in all that historic data, the historic interactions, the historic handle time, but you, the human, right, versus the computer, might want to go in and touch that data. For example, you may have a campaign that is going out and it might spike volume next week. The history might not be there, but again, you, the human, may know that. So you may want to go in and say, I want to increase my Monday volume to not be 9,000 interactions, but 12,000 interactions. Again, the history might not be there, but I know it's going to happen. So I want to increase that or bump it up. So that will help me with my staffing accordingly. I can filter it down by a work group just on Monday, down by a work group, just calls on Monday. You get the idea. I can filter down and I can make those modifications. That's what these checkbox down here at the bottom represent. So this allows me to run those what if scenarios. So what does my staffing look like if I'm going to bump my volume up for customer service calls on Monday from 9,000 to 12,000? How many more FTE do I need? Obviously, we can't just clone bodies and put people in seats. We don't just have these agents we can grab and throw in the seats. Maybe you do. Maybe you have some back office. Maybe you have some people working offline. But for the most part, you can't just create humans, right, real quick in a contact center. But what we can do is we can look to see if there are meetings or trainings or other events that are planned later in the day, because that will allow us to possibly cancel those or postpone those or move those to a different time for when that peak volume is coming in. So again, it allows us to be more proactive than reactive. All right. Again, what I've just showed you is for interactions, but we can obviously also do that, say, for handle time or after call work time or talk time specifically. So if you have new employees coming out on the floor next Thursday between 4 and 6 p.m., your history might not have that increased handle time, but you can go in and make that modification. All right. Moving along. Scheduling, the fun scheduling screen. I love this screen. It's so user-friendly. So we allow you to create what's called activity codes. I've been to a few contact centers in the last year that I've been here with Avtex, and a lot of people don't realize they can create their own activity codes. You don't just have to select meeting. You don't just have to select training. You can have specific meetings. So if you'll look up here in this box, you'll see meeting special project 1. When I drop it in the schedule, for Russ Johnson, it says SP1 for Special Project 1. So Russ might not be one of our best agents on the phone, but he's really good at special projects. So we're going to go ahead and set him aside and get him off the phone and put him in special project. Down here at the bottom, you'll see how much staff I need. So it might not make the best sense to start Russ at, according to here, 10:45, because at 11 you can see, and sorry that didn't line up real good, but 11 o'clock, you can see I'm understaffed by 9 or 10 FTE. So I might want to start him at 11:30 on that special project, but that's a great indication to show you where you want to put offline activities. We also allow you to go in and place those events into the schedule, but we also allow the system to do it for you. So for example, I may want to filter down by a specific team. So let's say Mrs. Bowman wants to have a team meeting. I can go ahead and filter by her and just bring her agents into this schedule view. Let's say, we're seeing about 15, 20 names here. That filters down to about 12, okay? So from here, I can select all of those agents, right-click and say, schedule group activity. The system will then go out and find the best time and the best day, if you select multiple days, to have that meeting. It'll never override a break. It'll never override a meal. It will absolutely find the open time and the best time based on these values on the bottom. Again, think about in the contact center. Some people take calls, some people take chats, some people take emails, some people handle these calls, some people handle those calls, some people, have different skill sets, speak different languages, things along that line. The system knows that. There's no way we should expect you to know what every person does in the contact center. Although working in workforce management over the years, I can tell you, most of you do. But the system will be able to say, these 3 people on that team also speak Mandarin. In the morning is not a good time to have that meeting. We should have it in the afternoon because we get a lot of Mandarin volume in the morning, just as an example. So it will find the best time to go ahead and plug that meeting in for you. And then you can go ahead and apply it to the schedule. And you can apply it across multiple days. I have a question that came in. I'm not prepped for this, so bear with me. For group scheduling, can you set up parameters in the system that will move breaks if it wants to? That's a great question. Today it does not do that, but we do offer reforecasting. And the reason is, for what it's worth, when it was first created, again, I've been here since the birth of this product, there are some contact centers that say are union-based, and you cannot move breaks or meals. You just can't do it, otherwise you would get in a lot of trouble. Now, do I agree with you that one day I would love to see a feature that says, yes, move the breaks and meals? Absolutely. But what it does do, again, is it will tell you when is the best time to have those meetings or breaks that don't override them. But you can shift these meals and breaks. So let's say, for example, just starting here at Naomi and going down to Russ. Okay, let's say that's a team, just for the sake of argument. And I have to have a 2-hour meeting. I might want to go ahead and just shift to this break back and this break back, move that meal over, because that might be the best time. Looking down here, again, if I filtered by just those 7 people, this might be the perfect time to have that meeting right in this stretch. So it does allow you to kind of view that. And when we reforecast, and we'll get into this a little bit later, that kind of ties into that question, Josh, is that you can go in and tell the system, yes, my goal is 80% of my interactions in 20 seconds or less, but I know I'm not going to hit my 80. Call volume has exploded. Somebody ran a campaign and I wasn't told about it. Not that that ever happens in a contact center. I mean, workforce management is told about every change that's going to happen in the call center. Joking. But that happens and volume has exploded. So what we can do is we can say, I'm not going to make an 80, but I have to hit a 70. System, tell me how many people I need the rest of the day in order to hit a 70. So it will do that, and that will allow you to shift and move things around like back office work or breaks or meals if you have the ability to do that. So hopefully that answers your question. And at the end, if that didn't answer your question as I go through these, there'll be an email address where you can shoot additional questions to, and I'll get those answered right back to you also. And then another question came in, just keeping it on the screen and keeping it specific, we'll go there. My company has a lot of OT recently. We added as ACD currently, could we use a different activity code? Absolutely you can. And I apologize, I'm not in a live system, but when you look at the main menu screen, Victoria, in the upper right corner, there's a hyperlink, if you will, a little line item that says activity codes. If you click on that, you can go in and add whatever activity code you want. And if you want, Victoria, after this, just shoot an email over and I can kind of just show you where that is real quick to make life a little bit easier. But yes, absolutely, you can do that. So for example, I can add overtime between 9 and 9:30 right here for Monty, and it would show OT versus ACD. And I can see that separately. So, good question. All right, I will move along. Oh, I should add a couple more things this time. I'm so sorry. At the bottom here, where it's the schedule versus forecast, I have a lot of options to choose from here. Activity types is one of those. So for example, instead of it saying scheduled, forecast, and difference, which is great because I want to see how many people are scheduled, how many people I need, and what the difference is, I can also see activity types. So I can see how many people are on the phone, how many people are in meeting, how many people are in training. So back to that scenario to where I need to move or cancel meetings, it will show me from 4 to 5 today, I have 13 people in a meeting. I might want to move half of those back an hour, for example. So I just wanted to point that out also. Now I'm moving along, I promise. Intraday Management. This is a great screen. I encourage everybody and any manager or director level above put earmuffs on, but you need a Jumbotron for this, right? To all the workforce people. You just want that big monitor right over your workstation where you can have this up and be monitoring at all times. But it is important to obviously have a dedicated screen for this because this is something you want to be watching, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. So you can filter by work group or what we call service goal group. So customer service, help desk, whatever groupings you have. Every 30 minutes, this data will post. And that's if you collect data at the 30-minute interval on the switch. Some people have 15, but most have 30. So for this scenario, I'll just keep it at 30 minutes. But what's happening here is this screenshot, if you will, was taken at between 3:30 and 4. 4 o'clock has not happened yet, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. It's showing my forecasted interactions to my actual interactions, what the difference is. So I'm way under forecast at this point. So back to my schedule screen, I may want to pull people off the phone. I want to get those meetings to take place. So anytime you can be proactive from a workforce management standpoint to where you can pick up the phone and say, I need to be able to pull 10 people off the phone, supervisors, do you have anything like you can do team meetings on real quick? So love being more proactive than reactive in situations like that. But again, the difference, but this next column, the fourth column, is what I really, really love. It's already reforecasting for me. I've done nothing. The system is telling me, here is your forecasted volume, but now here's your forecasted volume based on your arrival patterns you've had today. So you're not expecting to have the volume that you forecasted for, so you could let some people go home early if you wanted to save budget hours. If you wanted to have more trainings or more meetings, you can absolutely do that also. So really, again, it's what your contact center wants to do, and lots of options here, right? What we're looking at is interactions, handle time, headcount FTE. How many headcount do I need to make my service goal? And I talked a little bit about that earlier, to where I might not make my 80, but I have to make a 70-30 service level or 70-20 service level. How many people do I need the rest of the day in order to hit that goal? And then what my service level is going to be the rest of the day. Obviously, it's very high because, you know, I'm under volume, under forecast, so it's going to be very high. You could also throw columns up here like average speed of answer and different things like that, but I just wanted to put that out there also, that you have different shows. We also have graphs, so if you don't like a data table, you can put it in graph form, and you can see it there also. Moving along, real-time adherence. This one is near and dear to my heart, and I could talk to it for 45 minutes, but I will not do that to you, I promise. But from a real-time adherence, this is a massive ROI cost savings in the contact center. If you're not tracking this, if you're not monitoring it, we need to talk. You absolutely need to be looking at this. Just 20 minutes missing in a day is an astronomical fee in a contact center, so of lost dollars in the contact center. So we can definitely talk about that if you want to, but I'm looking at my scheduling unit or my grouping. What queue or what work group do I want to see? Obviously, I want to filter by who's out of adherence. That makes sense to me because this is what I'm looking for. Again, there's two ways to be out of adherence. I'm scheduled to be on the phone, but I'm off the phone, or I'm scheduled to be off the phone and I'm on the phone. So there's good adherence and bad adherence. Those are some terms that people have used in the past. So if I'm stuck on a call because my break is at 10 o'clock and it's 10:04 and I'm still on a call, that happens. We get that. That's why we don't ask for 100% adherence in a contact center. We assume you're going to be stuck on calls. But we also have the ability to track who left early. So Julie Smith left 9 minutes early, okay? So we can track that. I get that you're late, I get that you're stuck on a call, but how can you be 9 minutes early? So anyway, kind of funny, but if friends go to meals together, stuff like that, you can track things like that. And I do have another screen for adherence here, one moment. So I'm gonna just kind of give a quick scenario of adherence because again, I could just do a webinar on adherence, I promise you. It's such a big piece of the contact center. But so there's 450 minutes in a day. Let's just talk about that. If I have an 8-hour shift and I back out my 2 15-minute breaks, I have 450 minutes in a day. So let's say on my first break, I'm stuck on a call for 5 minutes. I'm gonna take my full 15 minutes, so I'm gonna come back 5 minutes late. So I'm 10 minutes out of adherence for my break. 5 minutes in the beginning, 5 minutes in the end. Let's just say the same thing happens for my meal and my afternoon break. 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, I'm out of adherence for the day. If I divide those two, I'm 93% adherence to schedule. That's somewhat of an industry standard, but again, it depends on your line of business. If you're support and those calls are an hour long, I don't even know if I'd look at adherence. And we have another measurement we can look at for that. But this being said, if calls last about 5 to 7 minutes, yeah, that's a good goal to look at right there, and just take a peek at. So talking about that industry standard again, just making sure that you understand your business, how long your calls are, set the appropriate goals. And I'll joke a little bit, but I'm pretty serious on this also. When we start tracking adherence, everybody's fear is, oh my goodness, Big Brother's coming in and they're watching us, and how are we going to, what am I going to do? I can't even get out of my seat. Trust me, these are things that I hear and that you'll hear over and over again, and that's not the case. We don't track adherence. We shouldn't track adherence at a daily level. People are going to have bad days, but over a month, that should be around a 93%. Again, if your handle time is between, say, 5 and 8 minutes, because we're not expecting every single break, every single meal, every single afternoon break to be stuck on that call. So again, massive cost savings here. Would love for you to do a benchmark if you're not tracking it today, just to see where you're at, and we can talk about cost savings on that at another time if you'd like. Schedule bidding. So we talked a little bit about this earlier. We have bidding where agents can go in. This is actually an agent screen where they can filter and sort their criteria. So my first choice is I don't want to work at all on Sunday. Then find me the earliest shift start time and earliest shift end time. Okay, you can see there's other choices in here, but it'll put these in order. So I did say earliest shift start time, but 5 a.m. is a little bit too early. I really like this 7 o'clock shift. I want that to be my first choice. You will build a stack rank report based on whatever criteria you want. Performance, seniority, hair color, shoe size, it doesn't matter to us. However you want to rank your agents, we'll sort them for you. Once the bidding window closes, it's going to take the people that are in that bid and it's going to assign them to shifts. So for example, if your bid says that you need 10 people to work the 7 a.m. shift. If I'm number 11 in your stack rank and I really wanted the 7 a.m. start, I'm not going to get it, but I'll get my second choice. Most likely, right, if it's still available, I'll get that second choice in the rank. So based on performance or seniority or however you want it, you can rank and go ahead and have the agents submit those. And when that bidding window closes, it assigns people to the new shifts. I did have another question. Is it possible to just measure adherence against ACD time in the system? I might need a little more information on that, Josh, so maybe we can talk afterwards. And is there a way for us to use ICBM to see what the agent submitted after we ran the bid? There is. In Business Manager, if you go to the schedule view, there's a little plus sign to the left of their name. If you expand that, it will show. And also on the main screen, there's one called Schedule Preferences on the main grid. If you click on that, it will show everybody's preference on there also. Let me take a step back. Is that preference or bid? I'm gonna have to double check on that, Victoria. I'm so sorry, but I don't have the system up in front of me, but we will definitely take a look at that and get back to you on that. Moving along. Adherence versus conformance. So I talked a little bit about adherence, and adherence again being defined as, did I follow my break and lunch times? Did I go when I was scheduled to go for meetings, for training, for break, start time, end time, things like that. Conformance is another measurement. So if you're in that contact center where the handle time is extremely high and it's really hard to track adherence because people are stuck on calls and may miss their meals and breaks by a half hour. We also have conformance. What conformance is defined as is, I am scheduled to be on the phone for 7.5 hours. Was I available on the phone or an after call work for 7.5 hours? I might have completely missed my breaks and meals because I was stuck on calls, but my conformance was a 99%. So someone's adherence could be very low, 71, 74%, because they did not follow their schedule, but they worked the hours I paid them to work. So it's a couple different measurements that we can look at. And again, what's best for your contact center, right? A couple options that we have there for you to look at. Moving along. So a lot of stuff I showed you, like from the agent view earlier, was like through Interaction Desktop, through their system. What I'm about to show you now is a web client. So it's a web form where I can go in as an agent from home. Let's say I'm at home right now and I want to view my schedule. So these next few screens I'm going to show you is basically a web version of what we offer. So here's my schedule view. I can see this by week, by month, by list. I got a couple different views there. I'm actually seeing my schedule right here, and it's telling me I'm out of adherence for a period of time. but I can see my schedule right here, right now, and I'm off on Friday. From the next view, not only from a schedule, I can also see a time off planner. So we talked a little bit about that. You as an administrator will set limits. So for example, you will say, I'm going to allow X people off on this day, X number of people off on that day, and so on. You can black out certain days. Again, the time off planner is another thing I could just spend a half hour on and talk to you about, but here's the front end view for the agent. So they can see what days they've been approved for. So for example, I could go in and just click on the 17th, hit request time off, and within 30 seconds, it's gonna come back and tell me if it's approved or it's denied, because you've set limits. You have said 32 hours are available on this Wednesday, the 17th. If I get approved, that drops to 24. Then the next person would sign up and they could see there's 24 hours available on that day. So again, this calendar view is very good. It's a great interface for the agents to use to see first if there's time available, and it automatically approves. So if you have an email tracking system today that comes through and says, I'd really like this day off, can I have it off? There's a manual process there somewhere, I promise you. But this time off planner through Interaction Optimizer saves a ton of time. We also have waitlisting. So if you can set waitlist limits. I don't want 100 people to waitlist on a day. I'm going to allow 5 people, for example. So by sliding this little slide bar, it will tell me, let's say, for example, the 14th was gone. There are no hours available. How many people have waitlisted, and can I still waitlist for that day? So I just wanted to throw that out there also. Agent trades is another piece through the web client. So again, to the example I gave earlier, if Bob works 9 to 6 and I work 8 to 5 and I want to trade away my morning hours for his afternoon hours, we absolutely could do that. If I want to work Bob's Saturday and have him work my Friday, I can absolutely do that also. Again, I don't have to take vacation time on Friday, because I promise you that someone works a weekend shift will give up their Saturday to work my Friday. I promise you that will happen for the most part. So again, if I'm a good employee, and again, based on my stack rank, right, where my shift lies, if I have seniority, if I have good performance, I get more privileges. I can do a trade. That person that works Saturday who wants to trade away their Saturday, they might get somebody to do it. But if I'm a Monday through Friday person and I'm willing to work a Saturday to take a day off during the week, I promise you that's probably going to happen. Why Optimizer? Okay. So again, we talked about that all-in-one solution, fully baked into your ACD. You no longer need to repost data. So for those of you that use a separate system or have used a separate system, links go down. That happens. So on that intraday screen, you have to go back and you have to repost those interval data to see what's going on. This is your data. It's all in one. If you have people, most workforce contact centers don't have 24/7 coverage, or if you're open 8 to 8, you're not going to work 8 to 8, right? That's not going to happen. What happens after you leave? Our supervisors as a backup is somebody taking people and moving them out of work groups or skills. If that's the case, in Optimizer, it talks to each other. If you're in a standalone system, you have to manage 2 systems, because if you run schedules after someone has changed work group memberships, the system doesn't know that, and it's going to run schedules based on what it knows. So again, the all-in-one is a very, very beautiful thing. Multi-channel forecasting, and interaction to us is an interaction. Doesn't matter if it's a call, chat, email, fax, it's an interaction. Intraday management, again, we can reforecast based on certain intervals. If something happened in the last 2 hours, I only want to reforecast the last 2 hours. I have that ability. Preference-based schedules versus biddable, talked about that, where we can have a couple different choices. The fully integrated PTO, and we also have the long-term planning, which ties into the PTO. So we can tie that in also. I know we're getting close here, and I encourage people, if you want to stay on, stay on. I'm just about done, and I'll stay on until all those questions are answered. But I want to be respectful of your time also. But I'm going to keep going through. I just got a couple more slides. Why Avtex? Our offerings, our ROI. I mean, if I can just, from an optimizer standpoint, me speaking about me, right? Come in, sit down, and just show you some of these numbers, and again, you have to implement that change, right? If adherence is an issue, we may need to start tracking adherence, and everybody has to have buy-in to that. But there are massive, massive dollar changes behind that. I can assure you of that. Health check assessments, again, we come in, we just evaluate, we monitor, we watch how you do business, how business processes are run. We've been in hundreds and thousands of contact centers, remember that, and not one contact center is the same, I can promise you. And I always would get a kick out of people saying, now, we're not like every other contact center. Yep, I know, I've been in a lot of them, not one of them are the same. They are different. So we want to make sure that we understand your business, what your needs are, how powerful employee satisfaction is, and try to find that balance with you. And that's where we tie in that consulting, the years of experience that we all have, that we come in and we help you with. And then we also have training opportunities where we can come in, sit need any with you in your system and train you on your system, or we have a public system that we can use and train you on that also. I strongly encourage to come and sit with you need any, because what happens is when we leave, you're all set up and good to go. It's done and you're ready to rock and roll there. So wrapping up today's recording, and any additional information can be found here. I'm going to leave the screen up for just a second. Actually, I'm going to go over one screen and come back to it. So this is where we go to questions, right? So I'm going to jump back now to the other screen. I just want to show you the pretty little picture that I had there, jumping back. So again, questions. So again, www.avtex.com webinars for this recording, or for questions, we can go to marketing@avtex.com. So again, please stay on if you can. I'm going to go through a couple more questions that I have on here. Bear with me here. Is the calendar only available in the web client? It is, Victoria, it is. That being said, very, very easy to set up and do. But if you're using through Interaction Desktop, if I'm an agent and I go in and submit a time off, I don't see the calendar, but it will auto approve. It'll come right back to me and say, yes, it was approved, or no, it was denied. So I, as an agent, am immediately notified. I just can't see that calendar. Hopefully that answers that good. You mentioned it can forecast any interaction type. Does that include generic objects? Great question. So yes, to your question. So if you have, say, help desk tickets through a remedy system or something like that, absolutely we can forecast those. Let me give you a great story. A while ago when I was working at Interactive, we had a customer, and they did calls, chats, emails, faxes, they did everything, but they couldn't track a certain item. They wanted to be able to track walk-ins. I know this sounds crazy, they did student loans, but what would literally happen is someone would come and knock on their door, wait for it, sound effects, see what I did there? They come and they knock on their door, and an agent would change their status to assisting walk-in. Okay, so they would go sit need with this person, answer their questions that they had, go back to their desk, make themselves available. We're tracking the time they were in the status, so we're able to say on Monday we averaged 13 walk-ins for an average of 26 minutes. On Tuesday we had 7 walk-ins for an average of 19 minutes. You see where I'm going with this. So what I'm really asking is think outside the box. What are you doing manually today? And let's see what we can do to automate that for you. Good question. Another one came in. Yeah, are these slides available for review? They are. Let me jump back one more slide here. So right here, today's recording and additional information can be found here. Again, www.avtex.com/webinars. And I will just stay on here to see if any more questions come in, but there's some good questions that shot through here. So anyone else? It's really quiet. All right, I don't see any coming in. So with that, oh, there's one. If we need assistance, can you help us? Absolutely, I can help you. So yes, just reach out to us through this next slide. Again, I'm a toggling master here through marketing, and absolutely we can come in and we can sit down and we can help you with any issues that we're having, even if it's just sitting down, doing that assessment, seeing what we can do to help you. And you may, I've been in many contact centers where we've delivered an assessment and they'll be like, there are 9 things you recommend. We're only going to do 2 of them. Fair enough. It's your business. I mean, really, we're just here to show you where some cost savings can happen and how we can make your life easier through processes, if it being time off or anything along that line. All right. So with that, there was one that came in. Can I export the schedule and views? There is an export button on the schedule. I think it goes to an HTML, but you can export if you wanted to post it on an intranet site for supervisors to see or agents to see. If you wanted to do that, you can do that, absolutely. So again, on the schedule screen, there's an export at the top. It might be Excel, but I think it's HTML, and you can put that out for others to see. Okay. All right, I'm going to hang out here just for another minute or so, see if any other questions come in. Yes, Victoria, please email that question to marketing@avtex.com, the one I have to look up, please, 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 yes. I have it here also, but just want to make sure that we track it in a couple places, so I'm sure to get back to you, okay? All right. Okay. You guys have a great rest of the day and a fabulous week. We'll talk to you later. Thank you.